Thank you. Toda Rabba and Erev Tov in Jerusalem. And we'll start with a melody that I will teach. And it's very easy. And we'll sing it and we'll think about it. And like this. Da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Yotzer or uboreh choshech oseh shalom uboreh et hakol. La 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 la. Andrew, you can put the text on and we'll take a look at it together. Many of you are familiar with this prayer from our morning service. The group who wrote it are young Israelis, young Israeli singers, leaders, chazanim, chazaniot, and that link is to hear them sing it. But let's take a moment, even though, as I say, we read it every morning, there's a reason we read this every morning. And of course, praised are you, Adonai our God, creator, Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol, who creates light and darkness, makes peace, and creates, fashions all things. This bracha is based on a passage in Isaiah. And the original passage is Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei ra, the creator of evil. And the pasuk continues, Ani Adonai oseh kol. And our rabbis, our liturgical editors took out evil and instead put in, kept the light and darkness and moved into that God creates everything. And I think the challenge of these days is living with so much light and darkness all the time, and evil, and seeing evil, and having looked at evil in the face, and wondering how can we remain shalom, when we've experienced this evil, and how do we get up each morning and feel the light and hold the darkness. And if you look at other words, as we go down the other words in this beautiful morning blessing, it's full of light, it's full of creation, it's full of praise, it's full of light. And the very idea that every morning, Uvituvo mechadesh, b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh breshim, every morning is an opportunity to recreate the world, to make the world a better place. And before we go into some sitting, I just want to say, because this is an exercise in mindfulness and strengthening ourselves and holding ourselves, that you can't imagine how much good is going on here, how much light. The country has mobilized in ways no one dreamt possible 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we were a society torn apart in protests, and 9 months of protest, 9 months for those of us who felt we were fighting a different kind of darkness. And the army mobilization is over 120%, but the almost miraculous mobilization that's going on is civil society. What Israelis, and I include all types of Israelis, including Israeli Arabs and ultra-Orthodox, This is being led. The protest movement overnight morphed into the biggest center, war room center, nerve center of providing social services, relief, rescue, supplies of everything imaginable to army units and now to evacuees who have had to leave their towns and their kibbutzim. The spirit is just electrifying in the deepest sense that we are an incredible, crazy people. That 1 minute, all we see is darkness in each other. And the next minute, all we see is light. And that's how I'm feeling. So I thought we'll now go into a few moments. And one of the many wonderful things IJ has taught me that I find useful is that I give my inhale and my exhale names. So if you like, you can breathe in the darkness and breathe out light. And if you don't like that, I would say you can breathe in or, and breathe out shalom, or do whatever works for you. But I wanted to take this first round of sitting, of meditating, to really stretch across the world. And for you, I know so many of you feel helpless and down. I want you to know that we feel your love, we feel your support, and it's giving us every day the energy to do this kind of volunteer work, comforting the sick, visiting the mourners. The loss is incredible and so painful. But I truly believe, and I'll maybe get back to this at the end, something also new is being born in Israel. So let's sit comfortably. Or shalom, choshech, ve'or. Let's take a few minutes and follow our breath. As I focus my breath, I often try to feel the beating of my heart. And my heart has been pounding a lot lately. But taking in the or, and even holding the choshech and praying for peace is calming my heart. I'll sing this one more time, and just so you know, it's a round. So with your mutes on, you can join in a kind of round. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzei or borei choshech oseh shalom uborei et hakol. Let's draw a deep breath in. Other out. And I'd like to teach you, if you will, one more text, and then we'll go back to Or Chadash Al Tzion Ta'ir, also part of this tefillah. So Andrew, if you can share a text, which it's one of my favorite texts in Genesis. And as I thought about it, of course, I realized it's a text about taking hostages. This is Judah, Yehuda, begging Yisrael. It's actually a text where Yaakov's name doesn't appear at this point. Yehuda is pleading with Yisrael. And I want to point out that in Yehuda's name, there are many of the letters of God's name. And Yisrael is Yisrael. And Shimon has been taken captive by Joseph in Egypt. And he's been told he will be released only if the younger son will come back to Egypt, Binyamin. And right before this text, Reuven, the hothead, says, "Oh, I'll kill my two sons and we can go." Proving that, yeah, violence is really helpful, just random. And Yehuda has a much more important message. First, he arguing or pleading with his father. And those of you who can read Hebrew or hear Hebrew in a way, there's so many double uses of words here as a way of emphasizing. And Vayomer I love Yehuda lemor ha'ed ha'id banu. Like, we need two witnesses. He was, this man was telling us, we won't see your faces unless your brother is with you. And if you let your brother go, we'll go down and procure food for you. But if you will not let him go, we will not go down. For that man said to us, do not let me see your faces unless your brother is with you. So again, here also the idea, what does it mean? What faces are we looking for in this story? And Yaakov, again, who's called Israel, is frustrated, saying, why did you tell him? Lama hare otemli, v'agid la'ish od lachem ach. Why did you tell him there was another brother? And they said, no, Sha'ol, again, another double, ha'ed, ha'id, Sha'ol, Sha'al. And in my view, this is just showing how there's so many things are so many-sided. And finally, it's already they're hungry, and the famine is getting greater and greater. And Yehuda, he's one of my favorite biblical leaders, actually, because he's one of the few leaders who actually apologizes in the book of Breshit to Tamar and takes full responsibility, something that is tearing us apart here in Israel. But we won't talk about that. This is how a leader speaks. This is how a Yehuda, a Jew, speaks. Vayomer Yehuda el Yisrael, Aviv, Shilcha hanar iti. And I look at this gorgeous alliteration. V'nakuma, v'nelecha, v'nechyeh, v'lo namut. Doesn't work as well in English. Send the boy in my care. Let us be on our way, that we may live and not die. I'll go back to the Hebrew. Nakum, first get up. In our moments of such fear and pain and helplessness these days, let us stand up. Not tall, let us get up. Let us help each other, but it's not enough to stand up. Nelecha, let us move, let us walk. Let us walk together, all of us, brothers and sisters. And it's not enough to walk. V'nechyeh, and let us live. V'lo namut. Gam anachnu, not you, who represents our forefathers and foremothers, v'gam tapenu, and our future. I am praying that all of us will get up, will walk, will live, will rebuild together. That is the DNA of the Jewish people. Earlier, Yaakov had said, Nechiyeh v'lo namut, go down and get food. But here, Yehuda takes it one more step. V'nakuma, v'nelecha, v'nechyeh. So let's take a few moments and think about these words. Nakuma, v'nelecha, v'lo namut. And nothing tells us we're alive more than we actually pay attention to our breath. Our neshama, our neshima. We will not let our enemies kidnap our Jewish spirit to live. Let's take a moment. Or Chadash al Zion Ta'ir v'nizkeh Chulanu mehera le'amu. Or Chadash al Zion Ta'ir v'nizkeh Chulanu mehera le'amu. May a new light shine upon Zion. And all of us, the citizens of Israel, all citizens, Jew, Muslim, Christian, Druze, and Palestinians, with whom we must find a way to live together in a new light. ונזכה כולנו מהרה אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו במהרה.
Deep gratitude to you, Rabbi Naamah Kelman-Ezrachi. Thank you so much for your presence, the teaching, and this Torah, and this moment. It's a big gift for us all. Friends, we seal this teaching and practice as we do each day with space for acknowledging and honoring grief, those who are in mourning, those observing yard sites, those for whom it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish. You're invited to do so in a moment. Andrew will put the words on the screen, and you are welcome to put the name or names of anyone you'd like to include who you're thinking about holding in your heart today. You can put those names in the chat now or after we recite the Kaddish. And you're invited, as Andrew does that, to join me by rising in body or in spirit. And you can unmute. Andrew, if you could just make it a little larger, that'd be great. Oh, a little too large. There we go. Okay. You're welcome to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal,
Yitadash Merabah,
Yamad,
Amad,
Divrach, Yivotei,
Yivotei,
Yamlich,
Yamlich
Malchutei,
Malchutei,
Chayekon, Mekon, Yeh,
Chayei
El,
Israel,
Agala,
Agala, Bisman Kavi,
Ru,
Ru Amen.
Hey, Shmei, Rabba,
Shmei
Mehara,
Rabba Mevara
Ulamei, Hamayim, Rach, Lach, Sahar, V'yitam,
Man Vitnase,
Adar,
Fu, Ela, Mikol, Vivata, Shirata, Benefanacha, Meran Yama, Limu Amen, Rabban Shemayim, Chaim, Enu, V'chol Kol Yisrael, Ose Shalom Aleinu, Ose Shalom Aleinu, Yisrael, B'Tevel, V'Yemru, Amen.
Amen.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Just a reminder once again of tomorrow night's session at 8 p.m. for those in their 20s and 30s. And I just want to thank everyone for being here as always. And we hope you'll join us tomorrow if you're leaving now. You're welcome, of course, as always, to stay on for some conversation with our teacher today, Rabbi Naamah Kelman. And I'll keep an eye out for questions in the chat. If you have a question, please preface it by writing question in all caps, or just feel free to share in the chat. Just a reminder that the purpose of the chat is really to focus on the feelings, experiences, thoughts that have been evoked in your practice today, or if you just want to share your feelings or anything in that regard, we encourage that, of course, as always. If you'd like to just use this time and space in this community to continue to sit for a few more minutes, you're welcome to do that as well, and just turn off the volume or the sound on your device or your computer. So, Naamah, I'll bring you in here, and there's now a kind of cliched phrase, "no words." People say "no words," which is kind of how I'm feeling at the moment. Which is to say that there's just really very potent, powerful energy going on here right now. And I hope people can feel that. I do. And grateful to you, very grateful to you for not just for making time to lead us today, but for all you have done, and your family has done. So start there. What came up for me in the first part of this practice was, you brought this blessing, which is the morning blessing in the morning service for light and darkness, which, like you said, the rabbis expanded to say, well, actually it's everything. We're talking about everything here. And to me, what it evoked in me, partly because I'm feeling this so acutely, is holding complexity, holding ambiguity, living in with all these various truths that I think for many of us, it just takes a while of life experience to be able to get to a place of being able to say, yeah, that's where it's at. It's not so simple, not so simple. So you have a lot of experience with that, as a progressive Zionist, Israeli, and I would just want to invite you, if you are able to share a little bit about how you do it. How do you hold the light and the dark, the complexity? And you were just talking about how amazing that was, in many ways, one of the most powerful things, among the many powerful things you said, was seeing the darkness in others and having that turn so quickly into seeing the light. That is amazing. But not so long ago, you might have seen the darkness. So how do we live that bracha? How do we live that blessing? I don't know. I know there's no easy answer there, but I just want to lift that up.
I just want to take a moment. I see I have people on this call who are former students who've become my teachers, and roommates, and teachers who remain my teachers. And I think that's one way we hold complexity in our lives. We find teachers, we find Havruta, we find the texts. We know we're not alone, that for centuries we've been at this as humans, not just Jews, of course, or Israelites, but needless to say, it's so in extremis now. And obviously when you're under terrible threat, you do come together. But even before that, there are lots of efforts even to have understanding, even before this war, that we need to rethink our covenant, our social covenant in Israel. And it can't be black and white. It has to be more with shades. And I think, I honestly believe this. I'm part of my DNA is I come from a long lineage of Hasidic rabbis. My father, a direct descendant, and I think a lot in the Hasidic tradition, as we know from IGS, also teaches you how we live with a lot of melancholy. Think our nigunim, or why do we sing so much in the minor key? I think we learn to live with this, and we have to see the light in the others. Or what's the point? What's the point if there's no hope?
Right. I see there are a lot of questions about what we can do. We hear over here. You wrote something very beautiful to the Hebraiah, the alumni of the rabbinic program in IJS, directing toward clergy, Jewish clergy, and I'm not talking about like organizations to support or whatever, but like, what would you say you're looking for from us in terms of, like you said, you feel the love, you feel the support. What is it that we can do to help you?
So I see someone ask the question, what light can we find in those whose sole purpose is to kill Jews? I think we all need to agree, and President Biden was here saying it very clearly. There's a difference between Hamas and Palestinians. I think we need to, Hamas is evil. And we're going to have to take them apart. But we do have to find a way to, I'm not sure about Azam, I'm also talking in our country, to live with differences. And I would say the same for America today. It's also confronting so many cleavages and differences, and it's very hard to find. So what I'm saying in my kind of reeling kind of way is that I really feel that we all have to be the best Jews we can be now.
Mm-hmm.
We have to reach across differences and try and build bridges. We have to, how do we make sure our synagogues are filled, not just when Jews are killed, but they're filled with our Torah and our songs and our music. I mean, I think many of us were feeling in a nice way, not just a bad way, that also American Jews, particularly liberal Jews and Israelis, were at a kind of inflection point that everything we thought was right in the 20th century is not right anymore. And IJS is proof of that also. So what we need from you is to be and build the best communities you can build, and to spread the Jewish light. We have a unique Jewish light, and to help our people who are feeling vulnerable in your communities today, whether it's college kids on college campuses, and as far as Israel, I mean, stay in touch with our IJS people in Israel, and stay in touch with your family and friends, and don't feel helpless and despairing. We need you to feel we're going to get through this. We're gonna build an Or Hadash, and of course, I know tons of money is being poured in now to major rebuilding, and I would here say to you, fund your favorite small places in Israel. That small community, that small NGO, that right now may be really any government monies or any, women wage peace, interfaith dialogues, the spirit of the gap. I could go on and on. Look for places that you love, that we need to be here when this is over.
One last question, then we can wrap up, I think, and let you go, which is, sorry?
Someone wrote youth cars, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are. I mean, today is Wednesday, so my question really has to do with trauma and our collective trauma as a people, the immediate trauma of 10 days ago, and how to recognize that, right? And I don't know if the compensate is the right word, but to factor that in, right? How does one factor in that, in terms of this whole practice is really about, as you did today, taking a breath, getting clear, kind of relaxing the nervous system enough to be able to respond wisely instead of react out of, automatic fear in a traumatized state. How is that possible? I mean, it seems to be.
Well, first of all,
possible.
I think Israel for a while now has, since the intifadas, and has understood that we're always in a pre or post or trauma. It's and we've really developed skills. We teach it to our rabbinic students. One of the most beautiful groups I'm in, situation rooms, they're called. I'm in a situation room just in Jerusalem, but it's all over the country now. We're 35 rabbis. We're being organized and sent to homes of people sitting Shiva. And we tell them we're here as spiritual leaders. If you want, we can sit with you. We'll come back if you like. I mean, so there's this incredible also mobilization to help people deal with trauma. But to be honest, when we bury our last dead from now, these traumas are really coming out, and not to mention some of the political fighting may very much start again.
Right.
And blame game. I'm hoping. I thought about this. I decided, nikama, vengeance, is also in the nakuma. I did not say vengeance. I don't think that's the intention there. So how do we I think, and I know there are bigger experts than me on this call with trauma.
Yeah.
I
think here it's just acknowledging that, and that, like you're saying in your work with rabbis, and in your own experience of being through so many. Those of us who have spent time in Israel at various times can relate to this. Just to recognize, we're not trying to figure it out. It's just to put that on the table, and to close actually with the Torah, that that beautiful Torah that you lifted up from that story. It's particularly the end where Yehuda, who you said kind of represents us in some ways, in taking responsibility, is inclusive in that. Says like, help, let's go, send the boy, and we will live together. We will live together in this kind of. I hadn't noticed it. It's this extraordinary inclusive way. He says we, right, which is a collective we. There, he's talking to his own family. But he's also saying
they're going to reconcile now.
And it says you, right?
They're walking to reconciliation. If Breshit began with fratricide, it ends with these brothers reconciling because of Judah.
Right. Exactly. So that's, I want to thank you for that. That's in the tradition, we call that an echemta. It's like a little note of comfort and hope to end with. And thank you for that. Thank you so much, Nami. Really, we're deeply appreciative. Thanks everyone for being here. And we hope to see everyone here tomorrow or sometime soon. Thanks, Andrew, for holding our space. Erev Tov, and hope with our love and prayers for Shalom to you, Nami. Okay. Be well, everyone.
Thank all of you writing such beautiful things. I can't answer them all, but I thank you.
Okay. Thanks.